What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Meran podcast. So today is episode 20, last episode of season 1. I want to give a huge shout out to everyone who's been listening. Thanks for the support. Big thank you also to the sponsors who made it happen, and to all the guests who hopped on, and especially Phil and Alexi who helped me start it last fall. If you want to support the podcast, there's always simple ways like following on Instagram, subscribing on your favorite podcast platform, and just sharing it with your friends. So now let's get to the episode. Today's guest is Alex Hall. He's one of my favorite skiers right now and has been for the last couple of years. I've really enjoyed seeing him in the faction edits and in slush games, but also he's been really cool to see in the competition scene, dominating X Games. In the last couple of years, he's won Big Air, Slopestyle, Knuckle, Huck, and Real Ski at X Games, which is incredible. In the episode, we talked about the last Olympics in Pyeongchang, the upcoming one in China next winter. We talked about different slopestyle competitions and filming street for Real Ski and other projects. It was really good talking with Alex. He's a super chill guy, and it was really a great way to finish off season 1. Big thank you to this episode's sponsors, J Skis, Planks Clothing, Access Board Shop, and Treefort Lifestyles. Let's go. Mr. Alex Hall, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you. Really glad to have you. How you been?
I've been good. Just made it back to Salt Lake City and finally wrapped up the season for a little bit here.
It's quite the long seasons for you guys. Like, you start skiing in September, I guess, October in Europe, and now you just ended and we're almost June.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, yeah, it pretty much starts in September, October, and then we usually run it to the end of May. So I don't know how many months that is, but it's a lot. So definitely been a long one.
How are you feeling after a long season like that? Are you the type of guy who wants to ski every day, or are you drained a bit getting at that point of the year?
I think by the end, sometimes I'm a little more chill with maybe not skiing and taking some downtime. In terms of my body, I feel great. No soreness or injuries or anything, but yeah, it definitely feels right to take a little break at this point in the season, just because it's been nonstop and grinding for so long. I think it's healthy to just take a little bit of downtime and just rest the body and just kind of, I don't know, take some time away from skiing, because I think it gets you even more stoked when you come back a couple weeks or months later. So a little chill time is I'm hyped for it.
Yeah, and I think it's really a good thing to give your mind some break, because being as successful as you are, you're going into a pretty intense stretch with the Olympics next season.
Yeah. Next season is going to be a hectic one. Our schedule's looking insane, like so many events before X Games. So yeah, we got a ton of qualifiers and random World Cups and Big Airs and Slopestyles, like all before January 25th. So it's going to be a crazy start of the season. So yeah, definitely rest up a little for that before that gets going.
How's your mindset going into this? Are you stressed? Are you hyped about it? What's the next months for you? Like, what will the summer be for you?
I don't think I'm too stressed out. I like, obviously going would be amazing, but there's so many good kids in the U.S. and so many good skiers on the team, the U.S. team, that it's obviously going to be super tough to make the 4 people on the team. So we'll just take it one step at a time, and we got a ton of events in the early season, so just try and ski my best in those events. And I don't know. I think I won't get as stressed out about it this time as I did last time, where I feel like it kind of made it a little more stressful than it had to be, where this time I want to just kind of enjoy it. And if it doesn't pan out, then I got a ton of time to go film. So either way, I think it's going to be a really fun season next year, and it's going to be a super busy one.
Damn, that's crazy. I didn't remember it. You were in Pyeongchang?
Yeah.
Damn.
I got the last spot on the team.
You were young.
Yeah, I was 19, I'm pretty sure. I was pretty young compared to the rest of the team, which was maybe a little not weird, just interesting. Being the other guys on the team were all super accomplished and had won a bunch of events, like all the slope and the pipe guys. So I felt like I was kind of the odd one out But no, it was super fun. Interesting learning experience for sure.
Because you've been ultra successful since then. You've won Big Air. Have you won Big Air? Yeah.
For X Games, yeah.
Yeah, Big Air at X Games, Slope, Knuckle Huck, Real Ski.
Yep.
But at that time, you still hadn't had that big success, right?
Not really. Yeah, I think the first kind of real bigger event I won was actually that same season after the Olympics. A couple months later, there was the last World Cup of the year, and in Silvaplana, and I ended up winning that one. But that was kind of one of the first big wins I think I got, kind of in terms of like World Cup or X Games, that type of stuff. So, but then after that, I got a couple more, but yeah, definitely was the underdog, I would say, on that U.S. team in Pyeongchang.
Yeah, who was there on the U.S. team? Nick Gepper?
Yep, Nick, McRae,
right,
and Gus.
Okay,
was the other three on the slope team.
Okay, yeah. You were really they were all like a generation older than you, kind of in skiing terms.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Nick was the next oldest, and I don't really know how much older Nick is than me. Maybe 4 or 5 years older than me. So
I think he might be like 27, 26, 7.
Yeah, right in there. So I think there was definitely a gap in there, and like I said, yeah, they'd already been so successful. They were all there to, at least podium or like get a medal, and I was kind of there to just ski my best and enjoy the experience. So I think we were in different boats, and it was definitely some funny dynamics in the house. Like it was interesting after some of them did like really well, like Nick got second, and then some of them didn't do well.
Yeah.
And we were all staying in the same apartment, so it was kind of it was an interesting dynamic after some of those events.
What's your recollection now, 4 years later, of the Olympic experience? Like, I was talking to Belmar about it, and he was really, the main thing that made me laugh was he felt it was kind of a summer camp vibe. Everything being taken care of, and you have your food platter, and I don't know. He was really going back to the summer camp thing.
Yeah, it is kind of a summer camp vibe. I think it was super fun to like watch a lot of the other events that I don't get to really see, like ice hockey and that type of stuff. And it's definitely a pretty big deal. Like when you're at the Olympics, you can tell like the opening ceremony and just like a lot of people watching, and it's pretty cool for sure. I definitely feel like it was because the U.S. team makes us stay there from the opening to the closing ceremony pretty much. So I think I was there for like 2.5 or 3 weeks in Korea, and I only got to ski a couple days on the slopestyle course, and then I went and skied a couple days like at the local resort in the mini park. But except for that, I didn't really get to ski a lot. So that was the main thing, was just having 3 weeks of like the main part of my season where I couldn't ski, which was a little bit of a bummer, but it was worth it in the end. It was a cool experience.
Yeah, it's right in the middle of, it's in February always, so
yeah,
the best time of the season. You said something is that I'm curious. The U.S. team like obligates you to stay there the whole time?
I don't know if it's like an exact obligation, but I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure they want everyone there at the opening ceremony for sure. And then I remember all of us, Pipe and Slopestyle, we all stayed there for the closing ceremony as well. So I'm pretty sure they wanted us to stay for both. I'm pretty sure it was a requirement. Maybe not like a super, super strict one. Maybe a couple people left before. I'm not really sure. But for the most part, I think most U.S. athletes stay there for the whole time. But I know for some countries it's very different. Like a lot of countries maybe did the opening ceremony, but then they left after their event, didn't do the closing. Or I think some countries didn't even show for the opening ceremony. They just went to Korea for like a week or less just for their events. I think it just depends by country, kind of.
And now it's time for a first sponsor break. J Skis is a company based out of Burlington, Vermont. Their business model of making limited edition graphic skis that are sold online directly to consumer is super dope. As a fan of original graphics, I love it. They put a lot of effort into making great skis, but also in making them look super good. I finally had the chance to try out my vacation skis this spring, and I gotta say, I love them. They were so playful that after shooting a jump, I had to go in front of the lens and hit it myself. Knowing how much time and effort Jason Leventhal and his team put into each ski they produce, I'm really looking forward to their upcoming releases. Support companies that support skiing. Support J Skis. I saw some Instagram clip of you doing some dubs in the pipe. Are you going for the 3 events, Big Air, Slope, and Halfpipe at where's the next one in Beijing? China?
Yeah, China. Yeah. No, I'm definitely not doing that. I was just skiing pipe in Mammoth because I love slushy pipe. Like, it's so fun. It's still scary, but it's so much more chill than like an icy pipe when all the competitions are going down. But no, I don't know. Yeah, the jump and the rails were they were pretty good, but they weren't like anything super crazy. And I felt like I'd been jumping and sliding rails all year, so it felt refreshing to just ski some pipe. So I think I skied like 3 days straight of just half pipe. Like, I didn't even go in the jumps or the rails, so that was pretty fun. Like, I got a bunch of homies over there like lapping pipe all day, so I was just lapping with them and like just working on like some transition stuff. Like, it's fun to try new, like, you can, I don't know, it's nice because I can try like a 7 or a 9 and it's still scary. So it feels like I'm like working on something new and I don't have to do like the craziest thing in the half pipe.
Yeah.
And then I did a dub, which I was hyped on because I told myself I'd never do a dub in the pipe, but it was super slushy and all the boys were getting me hyped up on the last run of the day, so I just tried one.
Why did you tell yourself that?
Because it's just sketch. Half pipe's just not chill. So I told myself I'd never do one. I've done some in like hand built quarter pipes, but I told myself I'd never actually do one in like a real half pipe. But yeah, I guess I realized that if the pipe's slushy enough, it's pretty chill and fun. So
Yeah.
I guess I'll never do it in an icy pipe.
Yeah, icy pipes and slushy pipes are like 2 different worlds, right?
100%. Like, slushy pipe is so fun. I feel like I could ski a slushy pipe like all day for like a week straight or even more, and like not even touch a rail or a jump.
Yeah, you mentioned you did some other type of pipes in Magma. Was it a nose butter dub? Kind of.
Yeah, kind of like I don't know what people call it, like a revert, nose butter, whatever people want to call it. But yeah, I did like a nose butter dub 12 in a quarter pipe there, which I was pretty stoked on. Just that one kind of was just a loose send, but it worked out. So I was hyped on that one.
But yeah, I'd call it a nose butter dub.
Yeah. I feel like I have like a mixed opinion on whether that one was nose butter or not. 'Cause it was weird because that QP we built was really narrow, so it didn't really fit like my ski sideways. So I had to like, so I was kind of just sketching out on doing like a nice long nose butter because I thought my skis tails were gonna like catch on the wall on the side.
Yeah.
So I kind of just had to like jump it more, but so it's kind of like an in between maybe.
Yeah, that must have been sketchy.
Yeah, no, it was weird. It was nice. Like, that quarter pipe was super chill. Like, it was such a mellow quarter pipe, but yeah, we definitely didn't build it super wide. We kind of just built it and we're like, all right, we're just going to hit it now.
Well, these builds take so much time that by the time it's wide enough for you to ski on it, like just making it wide enough for a butter is like 2 times the amount of work.
No, exactly. And that feature we built and hit the same day. So that was like a lot of effort, and we just kind of got it done, and it was super nice. It just wasn't really wide. But once we got it going, we were kind of like, oh, we don't really want to make it any wider. So we just left it the same.
What's your schedule when you do builds like that? Because in Magma, you did so many builds that look like they're time consuming. My guess would be that like you spend a whole day building it and then you come back another day.
Yeah, it all depends on the spot, honestly. But yeah, some of those really big builds for sure, we'd go up and build them the day before, like all day with like a bunch of homies, and then come back the next day and hit them. But yeah, it all depended. Like, we'd try and plan our days where we'd ski on the sunny days, and then if it was ever cloudy or bad weather, we'd try and have those as build days, to kind of like make sure we are hitting stuff on the sunny days. But then some spots also, like if they're pretty deep, like in the first Magma, we had a spot a jump spot we built that's pretty much like at the top of Mount Hood. So it's like a pretty far trek to it. So depending on the spot, if it's a really far hike, we'll just like get up there and just go sicko and like build it and then hit it the same day. and just like get done super late because we don't want to do the hike like twice all the way up there. And we had for Magma 2, for the second one, we also had I think the spot, the jump we built that was the ender where Hunter did the switch triple and I did the switch dub 14. That one's not super far, but it's like a couple hour hike to get to it. So that one we just hiked up, built it, and then seshed it for like kind of like sunset, like for an hour or two, and then we were done. So like if they're a little further hike, we'll try and just do it in a day. But a lot of the spots that we did, especially for the second one, were not longer than like 30 or 45-minute walk. So they were all pretty easy to get to.
I really have to give you props for the Magma movie because I rewatched them before we talked, and it's crazy the amount of work that goes into it. The movies are more than 10 minutes long, and it's back-to-back shots of I don't know how many builds, and the skiing is really dope, but it's also like you guys have put in a lot of work into it. It kind of the two segments or movie that it reminded me of was Sammy's On Top of Hood movie that he released. I don't know, time flies. It might have been 7-8 years ago, but On Top of Hood by Sammy and Henrik's closing segment in the regiment where he does builds in Andorra.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, that's we definitely got especially for the first one that we did on Hood, we got inspired from Sammy's On Top of the Hood because he just built so many dope spots up there. But yeah, they're a ton of work, but it's fun. Like honestly, I don't mind the building days that much. Like we usually just are with a bunch of homies and we like bring up a speaker and like just blast tunes all day and just like build a jump. And especially like if you give yourself a full day to build these features, then you can just kind of like not stress out and take your time and like build it nice. And if you got a big enough crew, then it's like pretty mellow. Some of the days where we try and like build and hit same day, that stuff's like a little more stressful because you're like on a grind.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, it's super fun. Like I don't mind building the jumps at all, even though it's like a ton of work. It feels like pretty fun, especially because like we do it in the spring, so it's usually super nice weather when you're like building in a t-shirt and it's like warm out and just like nice. Whereas like urban, you're just building this spot in some shitty cold weather and it's like really bad snow, which is kind of annoying sometimes. But with the Magmas, like the snow is just like the spring snow is so easy to build with. You know, you can just chop blocks and you can pretty much build whatever you want, which is fun. So you can like be an artist kind of in a way.
Yeah.
Just like sculpt your own features, which is super sick. So personally, yeah, I don't really mind the building too much at all.
Yeah, it's like your I don't know how to say that. It's like the good side. You struggle so much during the winter. Like you said, sometime in street the snow is shitty to work with. Like it doesn't collaborate, and then at the end of the season, you have your snow that's nice to work with.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's honestly like the biggest part. Probably is building a jump with like nice slushy snow is so easy and fun, and building a jump with shitty snow, like dry snow, is just such a mission. And it feels like you have to move twice as much snow because it all just it all compacts like so much. Whereas that slushy snow, like what you build stays exactly the same. But like if you try and build an urban feature like a POW jump in the middle of the winter with like really, really sugary POW, then it feels like you're just shoveling like twice as much and not getting anywhere, which is like super annoying. We did that for my real ski. We built a couple jumps this year with some like really dry POW, and it was really frustrating to try and get them. Like it took us like all day to build this jump that feels like we could have done in a couple hours if it was slushy.
Yeah, and then it's the whole everyone has their own science of big water jugs. Some people have that kind of flamethrower. I don't know how you call those.
Yeah.
What's your usual strategy when you're trying to build stuff in the street?
I've never done the flamethrower. That shit is sick. It makes you look pretty hard, I think. Like you just look like you're badass, but
it looks a bit overkill.
Yeah, it looks a little overkill maybe. I think it seems like it would work like to get a nice icy layer on top, but no, I'm a big water enthusiast. Just bring a shit ton of water, like a couple gallons or more, and just water a jump until it's just sits up. Like, yeah, some spots are just so like we built one spot this last season for real ski that I think we used like 20 to 30 gallons. Like we used so much water because we had to pretty much build this quarter pipe out of the like worst snow ever, and there was not a lot of it, and we just like, yeah, we pretty much built like this full wall out of boards and just started filling it in with snow and just like throwing water in, and like it was like the such a construction process to make it work. And then we had to like, then we got it all done and like let it sit overnight to try and let it freeze more too, and it was just like, yeah, it
Damn.
was
Yeah,
crazy.
is it the one at a baseball fence kind of?
Yeah, it's the baseball fence one where I did
Damn.
the like
Yeah.
spin and then flip out on the bounce.
I'm looking
Yeah.
at it right now. The quarter pipe looks about to fall off.
Well, I think if you're looking at the real ski and you look at the very end of the clip I get it on, the whole jump falls apart. Yeah, I
Oh
think you
shit.
can maybe tell in the very corner of the clip, like the
Well,
whole.
there's definitely I don't know, maybe a quarter of the jump that looks about to fall off.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah. On that last try where I got it, the whole jump, just like the whole top cracked in half. Like it was, I couldn't have hit it again, and the snow was so bad that like we would have had to take like another whole like 3 or 4 hours to rebuild it and like get the boards back in position, get more water. So I was like super lucky that I landed it that try because otherwise
Damn.
it would have been kind of annoying, I think.
And now it's time for a second sponsor break. Treefort Lifestyles is a company based out of Oregon. They've been involved in the ski industry since their inception in 2011 when they made their first pair of suspenders for skiing. They produce some of the nicest accessories you can find out there for your adventure activities, whether you're going skiing, hiking, or traveling. I've worn their suspenders all winter, and I have to say I love them. They're stylish and they're so comfortable you forget you have them on in the first place. Go check them out at treefortlifestyles.com and use code MERAN at checkout to get 15% off your order. Support companies that support skiing. Support Treefort Lifestyles. Yeah, let's talk about your real ski. You won real ski this year and you got a lot of hype. There were definitely two favorites, you and Hackle. And for me, when I watched it, it was clear that you two were top two. Then I guess it was a matter of liking for the judges because you two had really different styles of skiing and segments. But yeah, your real ski was so sick, man. Like I'm looking at it right now. It's incredible. Was it a goal for you to do real ski? Because you've done a lot of video with Faction doing street, doing great street. Was it a goal of yours to do it?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, it definitely was a goal. Like probably after my first urban trip with Faction, maybe like I don't even know how long ago that is now, like 4 or 5 years ago or something. After that trip, I definitely was like, oh, I'd like to do a real ski at some point, but I never really knew when would be the right time because I know it's really tough to try and do the real ski and also do the competing thing. So I never knew exactly when I would want to do it or when I would even get an invite. And then last year, so for 2020, I tried to get I hit the people up at X Games, and that was right after I'd filmed a pretty nice urban part with Faction, and I was hoping to maybe get an invite for the 2020 year, but I ended up not getting a spot initially for 2020, and then getting an alternate, or not an alternate. I got Phil actually pulled out of that year,
Hmm.
and then they sent me an invite in December, but at that point it was a little too late because I had already kind of committed to a bunch of competitions that I had to do and a bunch of other stuff. So I actually declined that spot, that late spot I got, just because I felt like I couldn't do it as good as I wanted to. Like I always told myself if I did a real ski, I would like give it 110% and do it as good as I can. Like because usually you only get one try at it,
Mm-hmm.
like most people don't get a re-invite. So I told myself I would really like go all in, and I felt like I couldn't with that year where I got the invite in December and I had already a lot of comps to do. And then I said, I can't do it this year, but maybe next year I'd be super down to do it, like if there's any spots or any of that stuff. And then the whole COVID thing hit and a lot of our comps got canceled. And then I ended up getting an invite in the fall at some point, and I kind of knew that I was on the fence for a little just because I didn't know exactly what was going to happen with the season. But then I knew for sure it was kind of like the right year to do it just because so many events got canceled. And it just felt like the perfect opportunity to like give it my all and focus just on the real ski for as much as I could. And I still had to skip some weeks of filming, I had like 2 or 3 events I had to do. I had, I think, 1 or 2 World Cups, and then I had X Games that I had to do, which was overlapped with the very end of the filming period. But overall, I had a ton of time to film for compared to past years where I usually am competing a lot more kind of earlier in the year. So it kind of felt like the perfect year to try and do it, which was dope.
It was kind of the perfect timing with COVID and competitions being canceled. I have something that just popped into my mind. In theory, since you won, you're getting invited for this year.
Yeah, no.
What's your mindset with the Olympics and all that?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess in theory, since I won in past years, they've given that person the re-invite. I don't know if they're going to change it or not. I haven't heard anything. But yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, because this next year is going to be so hectic. I don't know if I'll have time to do it. So it might be like a one and done type of scenario, or maybe I'd be down to do it in like a couple years again if they're still doing it and there's a spot available. But honestly, there's so many hungry kids out there who are so good at street, or I guess now they're also including other types of skiing, kind of whatever you want in real ski. But for the most part, there's so many good street skiers, up and comers or more underground skiers that I think would be amazing to have in real ski and would bring kind of a really fresh side of urban skiing to real ski that I'd be hyped to see in the event. So yeah, maybe I could do it in the future if there's spots available, but there's a lot of kids who should be in it. So yeah, all good if there's no spots available. But yeah, we'll see for next year. I think I'm not sure what's going to happen, but it's going to be really busy with competition. So I might have to bail on that one.
Yeah, that would be legendary though. Real ski and then X Games and then Olympics all inside. That would be super intense for you though, but that would be epic.
In the same year. I know I've thought about trying to do all 3 in the same year, but that would be pretty aggro maybe. Like, I think it would be doable if the qualification system for the US team was a little different, but just because we have so many specific US qualifiers earlier in the year, it just makes the season really, really hectic.
How does the qualification work? Do 2021 competition count for the quali, or it's only starting next fall?
I honestly don't even really know.
You guys are so funny. Like Alex Belmar was telling me the same thing, that like I think in Sochi he was unaware of the process, and I was like, "How can you be unaware?" Like you're...
Yeah, no. So we definitely had. I think we had one event this last season that was a qualifier. But then also, like, this last year's overall rankings can kind of help your qualification. So if you're ranked high on like FIS or whatever, and then next year we just have a bunch of like specific like US qualifying events. But this year after World Champs, we had a World Cup in Aspen, and I guess that was an Olympic qualifier. But the funny story with that one is that we did the quali day, and I did the qualies and made it to finals, and then I didn't even know that was an Olympic qualifier at all. And then the morning of finals, someone talked to me and was like, are you hyped for today? Like, first Olympic qualifier or something? And I straight up, I was like, wait, what? Today's an Olympic qualifier? Like, I didn't even know it was an Olympic qualifier. So, I guess we had one this year, and then we have I don't even know, 3 or 4 more next year. So we have a bunch next season too.
And now it's time for another sponsor break. Planks is a British outerwear brand founded in the French Alps. Yeah, you can ski in the UK, but you probably wouldn't. But these guys are still passionate about skiing, and as someone from Quebec, I definitely relate to that. They don't just make high quality, good looking gear that's affordable. They care about the free ski culture too, running grassroots events and sporting skiers that are some of my favorites like Woodsy, Lupe Haggerty, and the Real Skiffy crew. Make sure to check them out at planksclothing.com. Support companies that support skiing. Support Planks Clothing. You said something that really popped into my mind when you were talking about real ski. There's something about that I've noticed, a couple of guys that have done that, when, like you've said, that real ski makes you busy, like trying to juggle competitions and filming street. It looks to me like riding different stuff than your usual slope course helps you, like, I don't know, maybe... I don't know how it helps you, but it seems to help.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think Like that same goes for me. I think one of the best slope runs I've ever done in terms of my jumps and my rails was this World Cup in France that I did in 2019, where I had been on a month-long urban trip in Finland with Faction, and I hadn't hit a single park rail or a jump in like a month. And then I was just came into the World Cup like feeling so unprepared, but then I don't know, yeah, I ended up working out, and I was really hyped on my run, and I ended up winning that World Cup off like a month-long urban trip. And I think part of that, at least for me with an urban trip, was that I felt super sketchy on the jumps, but the rails felt like really mellow. Like when you go from hitting just urban rails for a month straight, and then you go and hit some pretty chill rails that are just in like a slopestyle course, it felt like I was kind of like numb to being scared to trying some hard tricks on those rails because I'd been doing that for a month straight. So that was kind of one of the. It was only two rails I think in that course, but like in terms of rails that I've linked together in a slope run, those are some of the better rails I've ever done. So I was pretty like stoked and surprised. And then this year too, like I ended up getting third at Big Air for X Games. And I pretty much, until X Games, I really didn't hit a jump all year. The only jumps I'd hit were POW jumps for real ski.
Mm.
So pretty much from October until the end of January, I was just hitting urban and POW. And then I came in and ended up getting third at Big Air, which was I felt like was a surprise to me, just because I felt like I was pretty rusty on like my jump skills and hadn't really been jumping a lot all year. So sometimes I think just, yeah, like a change of pace can be super refreshing and like make you super amped to try and just like go send some jumps if you haven't been jumping for like a long time, or like, yeah, or like it makes the rails feel mellow in a slope course. But it definitely, I think, can help in certain situations.
It's crazy because you're saying you're rusty. You were rusty at the Big Air, and as a viewer, it didn't seem that way. Like you finished third, you did a super dope nose nose grab, dub 16, right?
Yep, yeah, Dub 16 knows.
It might help that you had, I don't know how many days of practice you have at X Games, maybe 3, 4.
Yeah, for sure the practice helped. I think we had 3 or 4 days, and I needed all of those because I was feeling sketchy right up until the like last second. So,
But then I guess at that point, those days are enough. Like you don't need, would you have wanted more if you had the chance?
no, I think X Games does a really good job because we usually get sled laps all week at X. So like especially, yeah, like Big Air slopestyle, you maybe only get 2 or 3 hours of practice a day in that specific event. But with sleds, you get 20, 30, like you get so many laps. And then this year we got lucky because Big Air was Saturday night, I think. So it's near the end of the X Games. We had like 3 or 4 practice. Like practice usually starts on Wednesday or something, or Tuesday even. So we had Saturday night was Big Air, and then slopestyle wasn't until Sunday. So for slopestyle, I think I had like 4 practice days, and this year's course was like pretty tough because it had 2 jumps and then 2 side hits, and like a good amount of rails too. So I felt like, especially for slopestyle, like I needed all the practice days because I like was trying to figure my like different runs out or figure like ideas out like all week, and I didn't really know until like right before the competition like what I wanted to do.
Mm.
So for slope, it definitely helps. I think Big Air is a little easier to figure out usually, just because all you got to do is figure out like a couple tricks. But it was definitely super useful.
What was your process thinking about the tricks you wanted to do in the Big Air finals or even in the Big Air comp in general? Because you have a huge bag of tricks between rotation axis and spins and doubles, triples, and you do a lot of different grabs. And you kind of know what the other guys do, but then again, they all did new tricks. So you can't really know how someone is going to push himself, right?
Yeah, I think the main way I thought about X Games Big Air this year was that I knew we were going to have this jam format where we get like five or six tries, I think, to land 2 tricks. So that's way more attempts than usually. Like in a World Cup, in a final, you usually get 3 tries to land 2 tricks. So you got to like really be on it and stomp your tricks. But with like 5 or 6 tries to land 2 tricks, you get a lot more attempts at landing like your trick well. And so that's kind of the main thing I was thinking about is like I'm going to try tricks that I know I might not get first try that might take me 2 or 3 tries, but in the end I'll hopefully have enough attempts to like get them really good, and I'll just try like the hardest tricks I know how to do. So like the 2 tricks I did was like the switch dub 18 with like the lead Cuban and the seatbelt grab, and then the dub 16 nose, which are pretty much like the 2 hardest jump tricks I feel like I could do at the time. So I was like, I'm just going to try my hardest tricks and hopefully I can land in with 5 or 6 tries. And I think my 2 best scores were like my 4th and 5th jump out of 6 jumps. So like my first 3 were like medium. And then I think my last one I didn't really improve on. But yeah, so like pretty much I didn't get my tricks good until the last couple jumps.
Yeah, those tricks were crazy. On one side, the dub 16 seemed so intense of trusting yourself and like committing to it going into the second dip. And the switch dub 18 was just gnarly. Like I've watched a ton of skiing and I remember on the moment I was like, oh, it says dub 14. And then on the replay, you're like, oh no, okay, fuck, it's a switch dub 18. Damn.
Yeah, the 18 I've been doing for a little longer. Like I learned that one I did that one like just a couple times, like 2 or 3 times last season. So then this year I felt a little more comfortable like trying that for the first time, and now I've done a couple more because I did a couple in a big air comp and stuff. But yeah, the 16 nose was definitely new. Like the ones I did in comp at X Games were pretty much the first ones I'd ever done. I'd tried a couple in practice, but I never really grabbed them at all. So it was definitely scary, that trick, just because it's such a weird feeling trick, like compared to a lot of the other tricks I do, where if you try and do a big rotation, you usually use a grab like that can help you spin into it, whereas the nose like does the exact opposite, where it kind of like keeps you from spinning a higher rotation. So it was definitely weird with the nose grab, but yeah, that one was just scary because yeah, pretty much that one I did in X Games was the only really good one I did where I actually grabbed it well, and I haven't done one since. So that's a scary one for sure. That one is definitely like a weird, just the takeoff super weird because I got to do a lot of rotation at the start because then I know that the nose grab is going to slow me down a lot, so I got to set it really hard. Whereas like the switch 18, I use a grab that can kind of help me spin in the air if I have to like use it to spin faster.
Because your seatbelt grab is really leading your rotation. So it
Exactly.
follows the movement of your rotation. Whereas, yeah, I remember right in the before you dip into your second cork, it really seemed like you had to, I don't know, kind of do a second push with your
Yeah,
grab.
for sure. It's like a initial set, and then I gotta like wait and get the grab, and then the trick really works better with the grab because when I miss the grab, it gets like really sketchy. But then if I can get the grab and pull the grab, it almost kind of helps flip into the second one. Whereas when I miss that grab, the second flip like doesn't come very well. So that's what, I think why it's so scary too, because the grab changes the trick so much. Like whether I get the grab good or not makes the rotation pretty different.
Getting nose is not a guarantee.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I try and work on it, but yeah, I've tried that trick probably 10 or 15 times and I've only done like 2 good ones. So
Are you flexible?
no, not really. I'm not very flexible. I think I'm just tall, so like I have kind of long skis and long arms. So like if I point my toes at myself, like the nose comes kind of close
Mm,
to me. But I'm actually like I can touch my toes, but I'm not like super flexible or anything.
okay. Because like the classic for me while stretching is like you're on the chairlift and you're just lifting your tips up and trying to grab the nose.
Yeah.
And that's like always the struggle. It looks more like a truck driver than a nose grab.
Yeah, no, I can grab my nose on the chairlift. Sometimes it hurts a little bit, but for the most part, I can get it. I can get it pretty chill on the
Yeah.
chair.
You mentioned quickly the two I don't know, you call them the shark fins at the end of the slope course.
Yeah,
How were those for you? Because to me it seemed like it was kind of limiting for you guys as a whole, the
Ye-
whole slope squad, because it seemed like you guys are at a point where you're doing triples and dub whatever, and that it was kind of we were seeing tricks from a couple of years ago because the shark fin as a whole is sketchy to throw big stuff on.
yeah. I think the main thing is not the pro. Like shark fins are really fun, but sometimes they don't work out super well because it's putting a transition feature like in a run that goes straight down.
Mm-hmm.
So you always have to do like a really big carve at the thing. And especially for X Games, like because they fit 4 jump features, they did 2 jumps and 2 shark fins, so it was all like super tight. So as soon as you land that second jump, you'd have to be like on it and like get the perfect carve to get the first shark fin, and then the second shark fin was like right after it. So it was all like really tight, and I think that's the main thing is the fact that you have to do this weird setup carve into them. Makes it really tough to go switch. Like not a lot of people went switch because of that.
There's someone who almost, I think maybe Fabian Bosch. I think someone was getting in switch and almost died, or maybe
It was
maybe
Nick.
Gepper.
It was Nick. Yeah. On the last feature. Yeah, that's the only thing is they can be really hard to hit switch, which can be kind of annoying. But no, they're super fun. It's fun. It's refreshing to have something a little different. You know, I think some are obviously built better than others. I think having just the shark fin on a feature is better than when they try and combine and have a jump and shark fins because they need 2 different styles of landings, whereas a jump needs a less steep landing and kind of a longer landing, and a shark fin needs a really, really steep landing because you go like a quarter pipe hit, you go straight up and land with a ton of impact. So on some of these World Cup courses where they try and combine jumps and shark fins in the same landing, it just doesn't really work because the landing's always too flat for the shark fin, and it just like hurts to hit them. So I think they've started to figure that out a little bit, whereas X Games has now made it so that the shark fin features are just shark fins and they don't try and have jumps and shark fins.
Yeah.
Which is pretty dope. But no, they're fun. I mean, transition's always fun in a slope course. It can be tough. Like it makes it hard to get a really good rundown with really big tricks, but that's part of it too, is trying to figure something new out, you know? And in Silvaplana for the last World Cup of the year, we had a straight quarter pipe in the course, which was super fun. So it was fun to like see a bunch of slope skiers trying to do quarter pipe tricks, you know, which was cool.
It's cool to have variations between the classic jump and the classic flat rail.
Exactly. Yeah, I think rails this year, a lot of the courses were kind of a letdown, like really small, short rails and like flat rails, down rails. But yeah, no, we saw some cool stuff and like in terms of quarter pipes and transitions. But yeah, some of the rail courses were a little bit of a letdown this year for sure. Like at X Games and World Champs, it felt like all the rails were only like 10 feet long. Like they were so short and small, which kind of felt annoying if you wanted to try like harder tricks. They were just so quick and short. And it also made it so that someone can just go through and do like a gap 4 on 2 out and like barely slide the rail, but still like do a rail trick, you know? So I think kind of more tech, harder rails is a little more fun in a slope course, and it makes it, you know, harder to get a full slope run down too, because some people who are really good at jumping always just try and get through the rails as quick as possible and then go ham on the jumps, which is obviously a good strategy because it's more consistent, but sometimes it gets a little boring to watch. So I think it's cool when the rails are a little tougher and people really got to push themselves to do hard rail tricks.
And now it's time for another sponsor break. Axis Board Shop is a ski and snowboard shop based out of Saint-Sauveur, Quebec, Canada. They've been in business since 2002 and have supported skiing since day one. From sponsoring numerous athletes to putting on competitions to helping out movie productions, they've done it all. Axis is the core board shop, and they've got everything that you might need this season. Check them out at axisboutique.com or go check out their shop in Saint-Sauveur. Support companies that support skiing. Support Axis Board Shop. It's a matter of allowing you guys to do your crazy tricks, because if it's a small flat down rail, then there's only so much you can do. You go back to what you said and do your classic 4 on back 2 or a stock trick. And it's crazy how people were skeptical about FIS and the whole Olympic involvement, but looking back now, if you look at the past 10 years, in my mind, the 2 best rail sections of slope courses were Sochi and Pyeongchang. Like huge rails.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Pyeongchang had insane rails. They were all like so long and like massive, like as taller than I was, you know, like huge rails. So that course was insane. That was so fun.
Yeah, and Sochi with the big Russian doll. I remember like ABM doing a switch dub 9 with a tap on it. That was so crazy.
Yeah, no, and Sochi had huge rails too, for sure. I think some of the World Cups can have like pretty boring or repetitive rail runs. But yeah, the Olympic courses are usually like top notch and pretty crazy, which is sick.
Did you have a taste or a preview of the course? How does that work for the Olympics? Are you going in
Um,
blind and just discovering it?
I have no clue. Maybe there's a preview. I haven't seen anything. I feel like
But like for Pyeongchang, let's say, were you going in blind?
I think so. Yeah, I don't think I saw any courses or anything. Like I don't really like to look at sometimes for like some of the World Cups or X Games they have like a course kind of planned like a couple days or weeks before, but I don't really like to look at them because it's so easy to like see something on the computer and think you want to do these specific tricks and you get there and
Yeah.
it's so different or like you can't do it. So for me, it's better to just show up and figure out a plan when I get there instead of trying to make my mind up on a computer screen and then something doesn't work and then I get stressed out. So it's better to just show up and try and figure it out that way, I think, for me.
So it must have been like Christmas morning getting there. First chairlift and you're looking at it.
It was sick. And they were all like these pretty big tubes, which was so dope in Pyeongchang. And yeah, like the first down rail was, I don't even know, it was so long. The first down tube was crazy. And then some of the rails were, yeah, 2 meters high or even bigger. Like it was insane.
What trick were you doing on it? Switch to, back swap to, out. Was that it?
No, I think I did switch to front swap, blind two out, like switch to K fed, but switch
Nice.
right to, and then on the next rail I did like a Tokyo drift on the double king.
Yeah, right. To back three swap.
Yeah, Tokyo drift, back three swap, Pretz two.
Dude, that was so sick.
Thank you.
Man, on a slope run, Tokyo drift, and on a little up part of the rail that you're not really supposed to hit.
Yeah, like on the front of the rail.
That was so sick.
Thank you. Yeah, that one was kind of scary to try the first couple times because I had to go fast and like gap. Like because I was going from the up and then all the way into the second down, so I had to go kind of fast. But it was chill because honestly, Pyeongchang was so fucking icy. The Tokyo drifting was chill because it was just pure ice, so it was mellow. But yeah, no, the rails there were sick. It was definitely a little bummer how icy it was, but it was still super fun.
Yeah, talking about rails, good rails, and you were saying X Games was a bit of a letdown this year. I remember watching the event, and now that you're talking about it, like I'm curious on what was your perspective on the rail, because I remember you had a hard time on the first rail. You kind of muffed it a couple times in a row, where you were
Yeah,
trying kind of a 50-50 to transfer, or
yeah. No, yeah. Usually when I show up to a slope course, I try and the first thing I think is like, what can I do that no one else is gonna do?
mm,
So I always try and like find a kind of different line or trick if possible. And yeah, X Games was hard because there wasn't a lot of options, kind of. But that was like one of the things I tried to like transfer and like kind of right lip to onto this first little rail and then go on late onto the second rail and then still do the transfer. So I could like fit an extra rail in. So I was hitting 5 rails, I think, instead of 4.
yeah.
But yeah, the rails were so short that it like I don't know. It was hard to think of anything too creative at that one.
Yeah, you were doing lip two and then going into the second one and doing kind of a double front switch up, right?
Yeah, I was doing like a right lip two onto the little flat tube, coming on. There's like a little transition on the backside, and then I was alling onto the flat rail. Like after like people were hitting using the jump, I was alling on like halfway. It wasn't too high, so you could ollie on, and then I'd slide a little bit of the flat rail and then transfer over to the down rail. So it's just like a way of getting like an extra rail in at the top, kind of with an extra. So then I was able to do different like spin all 4 ways on the rails too. So I got a switch right, left, and a switch left.
Yeah, that's intense. You got to think of doing something creative, something tech, and also with slope nowadays, you got to try and do not only the jumps left and right, but also your rails.
Yep. Yeah, you got to be able to really spin all ways nowadays. That's for sure.
It's crazy how it evolved. Like at first, people didn't care. Like you look at old videos of Tanner winning X Games, and he's reverting in the middle of the course.
Yeah, but that's so dope though.
It's funny looking
I
back.
think it was sick. I think it's so. I was looking at those runs, and I think it's so sick that they can revert.
And then it starts to have some left and right side spins on the jump, and it's really later on that it was that for rails also.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, now you got to really like spin always like on the jumps and the rails, and sometimes there's 4 rails and 4 jumps. So you got to be spinning like all 4 ways on both. So you got to be on top of it for sure.
Yeah, for a lot of people, like let's say we're hitting street, we still think of it, or the skiers at least think of it. Oh, okay, I'll have to hit that one on that. Like you have a side of railing that's less good.
Yeah.
Or is it still the case for you? Like if you go right foot forward or left foot forward,
Um.
or you don't even think about it?
No, I definitely do. Like if I showed up to a gnarly like quad kink in the streets, I'd be like, all right, I want to be right foot forward on this.
Yeah.
So I definitely have preference. I at this point for sure, like it's more chill than it used to be for me. Like a couple of years ago, where I was like, oh, left foot, like on like some gnarly rails. But I've gotten better at just trying to. Like I feel like I'd always do tricks where I maybe slid left foot, like a 2-on, or like other tricks where you land with your left foot forward. But so it felt chill to do it with tricks, but it wasn't a lot where I just slide rails on that foot or do like on that lip on. And the last couple of years I've been just trying to get better at just like rolling through the park and like sliding all the rails like on both ways. Doesn't matter like which So I think lately I've been definitely getting better at just feeling pretty equal on both feet and like sliding rails both ways. Definitely my going left foot first is still feels unnatural, but I think I've improved just by sliding like all the different rails and parks and stuff like with both ways forward.
Question for you. You talked about a gnarly forking. Let's say there's that gnarly forking that's on your right, so you would need to hit it left foot forward. Do you go left foot forward or do you go lip slide?
Oh, 100% lip slide. Yeah, for sure. Like for me, a lip slide feels just as easy as getting on normal. Like I don't think of a lip slide as any harder than getting on normal. So if it was like a gnarly quad kink, I would probably definitely go lip on.
Okay.
Or depending on speed too. Like if there's not a ton of speed, maybe I'd go left foot forward. But if there's like decent speed, I would probably go lip on. Unless, I mean, it all depends on the situation too, depending on the rail.
Yeah.
It might be good for a left foot trick, or depending on what tricks I've already done that season, I maybe want to do a left foot forward trick because I've done a lot of right foot forward tricks. So it definitely depends on the situation. But if you just slap the gnarly quad kink in front of me, I'd probably go lip on.
Yeah. It gets strategic.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, for me, probably the biggest part is what I've already filmed that season and how I can not repeat myself is like a huge part of it.
Trying to have variety.
Yeah, for sure. Having variety of tricks in your urban parts and not just like sliding a bunch of big rails right foot forward, like trying to have different things.
It seems like it's something that wasn't the case 10 years ago, and it's a good thing that we have now. Like I was looking back at some movies in the past month from like 2008, 9, 10, and there's a lot of parts where people have like 5K feds in their parts.
Yeah.
At some point, it's almost funny.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely, I feel like that used to be a thing more where you could just have the same trick a bunch. But I don't know. I love watching those old movies. I think it's so sick when people just like do the same trick a bunch, but they're like really good at it. But it's definitely not my style nowadays, for sure. But also, I will say, like in urban, sometimes it's hard because like rails are gnarly and like sometimes they're on the same side. So you got to have a big bag of tricks and you got to like be pretty committed if you want to like not repeat any tricks. Like I don't know. I'm gonna make a full urban part in the fall this year with a lot of my real ski or like some of my real ski and a lot of other shots, and maybe there's a couple trick repeats. Honestly, I don't know off the top of my head, but there might be like a couple tricks that are pretty similar. So
damn, looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm stoked. I haven't worked on any of it yet. I got a lot of footage I got to grab from different people because I filmed a lot of urban after real ski too. So I just got a lot to compile, but hopefully I'll have it together by the fall at some point.
Do you have a certain concept in mind?
No, nothing too specific. Just like I know I want, because I filmed some POW as well, but I know I want to make just a street part.
Okay.
And just like include pretty much all the shots and like a lot of stuff, that we filmed during real ski that didn't make the cut. We hit a ton of spots that didn't make the edit. So I just want to make sure I use that stuff and don't let it go unused because I'm still really hyped on a lot of the shots. It's just they didn't fit in the minute and a half you have for real ski because that's so short. But yeah, I think for real ski we hit we used 12 urban shots in my part and 3 POW shots, but I think in that the time period we filmed for that video, I think I hit 24 urban spots. So we have like still like pretty much double the amount that we haven't no one's seen yet. So more of that, and then also once I was done with X Games, I had a couple weeks off where I just hit some more urban around Salt Lake, and I maybe hit like 7 to 10 more urban spots. So there's definitely a good amount of footage that I want to try and release in some form.
Yeah, well, yeah, certainly. Like you said, don't let them go to waste.
Exactly. And I was thinking about maybe just posting some to the gram, but I think I'd rather just compile everything in a nice edit and just maybe less people will see it, but personally it's more satisfying. So I think I'll probably just do that.
They can always go to the gram afterwards.
Exactly. True.
And like your reel ski has 125,000 views, so people are gonna see it, man. People are hyped on you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm stoked. I think it's going to be nice to use the footage and not feel stressed, like not have to fit it into a minute and a half, and like be able to edit it how I want to edit it and put the fillers in that I want to put in, like some B-roll. And I like reel ski, you always have to license the music. Like you have to have the rights and pay for the song. And if I just put it on YouTube and I can pretty much choose whatever songs I want. So it'd be nice to like have exactly the music I want, edit it the way I want, like have it the length I want. That all sounds like pretty enticing and fun to work on during the summer and the fall.
I was asking you about concept because we've seen a couple of guys through the years do a kind of compilation of all the shots they've got.
Yeah.
And like Clayton did the Creep back in the days.
Yep.
And like it was really ski porn, if I remember well. Like there wasn't really any concept, whereas Phil did 2 little movies with his real skis where it was kind of, I don't even know how to qualify it, but it was really different than your usual ski porn.
Yeah. No, yeah, I haven't thought exactly about how I want to structure the edit. I think I'll play it by ear. Definitely be more kind of ski porn. I want to just, get the shots out there. But no, I think it's going to be different because I'm not looking at it as a way of like releasing my same reel ski, but in a more kind of elaborate way. It's more just like some of those reel ski shots are going to be in there.
Yeah.
But it's really just like I have a lot of other stuff that will be the majority of the edit will be things that people actually haven't seen yet. And then there'll be like some of those reel ski shots in there, but it's going to be like a fresh new urban edit that a little part that no one's really seen a lot of the shots. But it's not really a version of my reel ski because I think I don't want to, try and reuse my reel ski shots too many times. So it's not really that. It's more just like making an edit with all the other stuff I have and then including some of the reel ski stuff as well, which will be a small part of it probably.
Damn. It's going to be banger.
Yeah, I'm actually super hyped. I haven't seen a lot of it because I filmed with Etienne, the faction filmer, for the reel ski. And so we use a lot of that, but he has all the stuff on a hard drive. So I haven't seen a lot of the clips in a while. And then when I was in Salt Lake, I filmed with Owen Dahlberg, who filmed the Magmas. So he's got all the other clips and I don't have any of the clips. So I haven't like seen any of the stuff in a long time, but I like sometimes I'll try and think about like the tricks I did, but I'm stoked. I'm hyped to just like look at it all and like gather it and try and start sorting through what I want. And I think it's going to be cool too, because for reel ski, we were really looking for like gnarly banger spots. And some of the stuff I filmed later in Salt Lake was more just kind of with like a lot of my homies and natural speed, and like we hit some smaller features too, like more creative stuff. And I think it's going to be a nice kind of balance of like some really big gnarly things and then some smaller like little rails that were more creative. So I'm hyped to try and just throw it together at some point.
Yeah, it must be nice after 2 months of like, as you said, trying gnarly stuff, just going back to having fun and doing mellow stuff.
100%. Like by the end of filming urban for reel ski, I was like, all right, this is pretty gnarly. Like I don't think I'm hitting urban for the rest of the year. And then I got to Salt Lake and like there was some snow in the city and I had some time to film, and it was so fun just like going out with all the homies and like hitting natty speed spots where everyone can sesh at the same time. Or even if it wasn't natty speed, like, helping them out, like I'd run the winch for like them so they can get the clip, and then they'd help me and run the winch, and I could get the clip. So it's like way more of like a everyone's getting clipped up type of vibe, which I think makes it way more fun.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, some of the spots were maybe a little more mellow too. We still hit some gnarly stuff, but it just like is a different atmosphere. Whereas like for the real ski, it feels like for the most part, like everyone's there to help you get the clip. So it puts a lot of pressure on you. Like you want to get the clip because everyone's there helping, and like everyone's waiting in the cold and like running the winch all day for you. There's like Etienne or other people like shoveling or filming. So like there's definitely a lot more pressure for real ski to just get the clip, where when you just film with the homies, it's like, it's all good if you don't get the clip. Like some homie's going to get a dope clip. So as long as someone's getting clipped up, it's a dope vibe for sure.
Yeah, tell me about that. Let's get back into your real ski. We talked about it just for a bit. You've done a lot of street trips with crews, like going with faction, where, as you said, you're going with homies and you're going for, I don't know, you tell me maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and either you get a shot and you're stoked, or the friends get a shot. So it's really a crew vibe. I think I saw in the behind the scenes of Real Ski that you and your filmer were just the two of you for a lot of the spots.
Yeah, definitely different. I've always done trips with a bunch of people, which is super fun. But this year was a little different because there was spots where we were just like going all in, or like driving places, and like a lot of my homies just wanted to ski in Utah like preseason, or they're busy working. So sometimes it was just a 2-man mish, like just Etienne and I, and like we'd build the spot, just the two of us. Like either hopefully it was natty speed, or if it was a winch spot, Etienne would have to winch me in, and then he'd just set the camera up on a tripod, which was like a couple spots. But it was definitely different. It was hard. Like when you don't have the full crew, it's tough to make it work sometimes, especially like in terms of like filming it as good as you want to film it.
Did you know if Etienne was bummed at all of having to be the winch driver? Because to me, as a filmer, it seemed like a bummer where you're stoked, you're filming for X Games, and as much as it's a competition for you, it's also an occasion for him to showcase his filming. And then it's like, yep, put the tripod and drive the winch.
100%. Like we were both bummed. Like on some of those spots, we were like, "Oh, it's just the two of us. Like we're gonna have to put the camera on a tripod. Like the shot is gonna be rough." So it was definitely a bummer. I think even more so for him because obviously he loves filming and he's really particular about his film work, and like he's such a good filmer that I think it was a little painful for him to set the camera on a tripod for some of those. And for me too, it was weird because we'd have to get 2 shots. So sometimes I had to do the trick twice because we'd switch angle for the tripod. So that was definitely rough. But luckily there was only like 2 or 3 spots that we really had to do that. And then the rest we either had help from friends, or Dusty and his filmer Cal were there. So we didn't have to do it too much, but there was a couple times where we just had to hit the savage button and get it done, just the two of us.
Real ski requires you to have so much resourcefulness, because talking about you guys having to put the tripod and only being 2, one thing that comes into mind is the year Hornbeck did it. His filmer was Spencer Milbacher. Yep. And I remember there were behind the scenes also showing that he was driving the winch and he had snowblades on. And when Hornbeck came, he was like started running with his snowblades to then do a follow cam.
Yeah, I saw that. That was insane. Yeah, you gotta just it's tough. Like you just have to fully commit to going all in. Like we had so many spots where like obviously making a spot work with 2 people is really tough. Also in terms of setting it up, you just have way less people helping with the build. But we also had really low snow for this year when we did real ski. It snowed a lot on the East Coast, but we never really committed to driving all the way out there. So what we ended up doing was just staying in the West Coast, and we drove so much. Like we went up to Montana, we went to Idaho, we went to Colorado, and like sometimes we drive like 6 hours just to get to one spot and like hit that spot, and then drive back 6 hours just because there was so little snow. Or like using like 30 gallons of water for a spot. Like in a normal year where it wouldn't have been for real ski, some of the spots for sure I probably wouldn't have hit because they were just so much effort to build, like shoveling all day or all night to set the spot up because there was literally no snow. So you kind of just got to know that that's what's going to happen, and you just got to go all in to make it work, because you only have, it's mainly the reason you got to do it that way is because of the time limit. You know, you got to submit it by the end of January, so you don't really get the whole second half of the season to try and work on it, which is tough.
Tell me about that 6 hour drive. Which feature is it?
Yeah, we that down kind of sea ledge where I do the switch cork 6 on to that long.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that one's actually up in kind of near Breckenridge in Colorado. And we were in Utah, and there was like no snow, or there was a little snow and it just melted. And then we knew there was going to be a little more snow in Breck because they're so high up there. So we drove all the way out there. Like, actually, it's way more than, it's like 8 hours all the way to Breck. Drove 8 hours and like built a day, and then I hit it for 2 days. I hit it a day, didn't get it. Hit it the next day, it got the clip, and then we got the clip like right before it got dark, and then we left the next morning. I think we actually drove straight from there to Idaho. We drove like 8 hours to the next spot in Idaho because Idaho had a little snow. So we were going like 8 hour drives for one clip. I mean, the ender of the video was a POW shot in Baker, the switch cork 7 bounce switch front flip, and that drive from Salt Lake is like 14 hours on a good day, but we did it in a snowstorm like both ways. So it was like a 20-hour drive both ways, and we got was one clip, and we were there for like a week, and we only got one clip. Like, it was so much effort for one shot, but yeah, that's just how it goes sometimes.
Driving in a snowstorm like that is so tiring.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be fully focused the whole way, watching.
Yeah, then the worst part was it felt like all year we were driving in snowstorms, but there was never actually snow. Like, we were just in like blizzards, but there would never actually be enough snow to like hit urban or like good POW. Like, it just felt like we were always driving in shitty conditions, but there was no snow on the ground. It was like the weirdest thing. It was so frustrating.
Yeah, tell me about that 6 hour drive. Well, about that setup, because it's one of my favorite shots and from your video, and one of the most bangers. Like, switch 6 on to, it's not to, kiss the rail kind of, it's you slide it a long time.
Yeah.
And, like, just getting that is gnarly, but when you do a 6 hour drive to go to one spot, it's a lot of pressure on yourself of saying like, I better get that shot or else we lost a lot of time on nothing.
Yeah, that one was gnarly. That was definitely like the most pressure and the hardest trick, like by far, of the whole video. Just because we drove out there and I'd like seen the spot before, and I knew it was going to be hard, but we got there and like there was enough snow, but like not a ton, and it was really dry snow. It hadn't snowed in like a month, so it was this really, really dry, and it's way up in the mountains in Colorado, so it's like cold. So it was this really dry, sugary snow. And we spent a full day just like working on the in run, building the jump. Like, it took so long, like 8 hours just to build the spot. Like, that we had to like cut these bushes out of the in run, and like there was a river on the in run that we had to fill in and like build this huge jump and like fill in the landing. And there was these massive boulders like right next to the ledge that we had to try and put some snow on. And and then the next day, like, the worst part about this spot was you park at this road and then you got to walk to it like maybe, I don't know, like a mile and a half, like a couple kilometers. You got to walk out to this spot, like through like knee deep POW, like on this road. Cause all it is like this drainage ditch on a dam. So then so we built the spot all day, which was so gnarly. And then the next day we walk out and we had to drag the winch cause it's not natty speed. So we dragged the winch like a couple kilometers all the way out to this spot, like in POW. And like all we did was like we tried to like strap it to my skis kind of, and it literally took us like over an hour just to get the winch there. And then by that point I was already so tired from dragging the winch that like I felt just exhausted, and I tried the trick all day, and I was like, I got really close kind of early on, but then I started getting really not close and just like getting wrecked on this spot. And like, because it's this really gnarly concrete ledge, like we thought it was smooth. When we showed up, we noticed it wasn't smooth at all, because Tanner had actually hit it a year or two ago, but he used edgeless skis, which we didn't realize. And then we showed up and this ledge was like crazy rough, and I don't have edgeless skis. So it was just like really gnarly to slide. And the main problem was after I'd hit the ledge too many times, my base would get so fucked up that I wouldn't have enough speed with the winch. So the first day what I ended up having is my skis just got way too exploded, and like I couldn't get enough speed for the spot anymore. we left the winch there overnight. We were just like, fuck it. Like, we can't drag it back and bring it back. Like, if we bring it back now, we're not going to bring it back the next day. Like, we'll be too tired. So we left the winch there overnight. And I showed up the next day with 2 pairs of skis because I knew my skis were going to get fucked if I didn't get it fast enough. And I snapped. Like, I've been trying it for a long time. And it was starting to, like, almost getting dark. And I snapped a ski. And I was like, oh, fuck. And I was like, then grabbed my new pair of skis. And then, like, first try with the new pairs, like, somehow got it. And I hadn't been close in like 30 tries. Like, I was nowhere near getting it. And then somehow it just worked out. And I was just like so relieved that it was over because it was so gnarly to try that trick. Like, every time I tried it, I thought I was like, you might get hurt this try because like it was like a big gap onto this ledge. And you can't tell in the shot, but the whole right side of the ledge is these massive boulders, like huge boulders. And all there was like a little snow on them. So if I came off early, I would like eat shit into like this gnarly boulder field.
Right.
And so like I messed my, like I had scabs everywhere. I still have like scars from my elbow has like these, I had like 10 scabs all over my elbow from just wrecking it on like the ledge and the boulders. So I just looked like I had like come out of like a battlefield after that spot. Like I had cuts and like scrapes all over my body. And I remember I felt like shit after that for like 4 days. Like, we went straight to Idaho after and we were hitting spots, but I felt so shitty, like so sore and just wrecked. And the main thing I remember though that was nice is after that spot, for the rest of filming real ski, every other spot felt so chill. Like way less gnarly, way easier setup, and like maybe some spots were more tries, but just like easier to lap. Because the thing with that ledge was the lap was really long. Because I'd ride to the bottom ledge and have to walk all the way up, like through POW.
Yeah.
So it was like lapping a POW jump pretty much.
And like every try, like you said, is consequential. Like every try you can like eat shit really bad.
Yeah, and I think it was like 80 tries or I don't know more. But yeah, it was 2 full days. And then obviously the winch like fucks up every now and then, and you got those problems. And the other thing that maybe some people don't realize is that spot, I mean, you wouldn't know, but that spot's actually like 3,500 meters. So like it's so exhausting to hike it because you're at such a high elevation. It's at like 10,000 feet or something. So like just every lap was like so exhausting, like lapping. So then, yeah, when we got to like more normal urban spots that were in cities and stuff, it felt so chill to just like hike the rail because it was mellow.
Yeah, the few times I went to Colorado in my life, I always noticed that if I did a top to bottom in the park, I would get to the chairlift and be like catching my breath,
Yeah, 100%. Colorado's really high up there. And we were like above Breck, like up on this pass. Like it was just like in the middle of nowhere, so high up.
Damn.
It was crazy.
One special thing that I noticed that adds up to it, because there's already the fact that you're doing a switch 6 on, like just a switch 2 on would have been crazy, but switch 6, that's insane. When you land, if you went just a feet further on the side, there's like trees.
Yeah.
There's
exactly.
like stuff in your outrun.
Yeah, there's like trees and boulders. Like I slammed into those trees like all the time. And then yeah, there's the trees on the other side when I land, and I barely missed the trees on that side. Like that's what Etienne said. He was so worried. Like when he saw I was getting to the end of the ledge and he was filming me, he thought I was gonna like pop a little too far at the bush and like catch the branch. So I got super lucky that I landed, because we were joking about like how shitty it would have been if I landed and then like caught a little bush, or like, because it was kind of a POW landing. So even if I like landed switch and then tipped over or something.
Yeah.
So we just got lucky that it worked out. But yeah, that's funny you mentioned, because I almost, by the end of the second day, I almost told myself I was just going to switch. I'd tried switch 6s for so long. I was like, I at least need to try and get a switch 2 on this if I can't get the switch 6.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, like I said, just kind of like it happens sometimes, like out of nowhere. It just worked out after like I hadn't been close in so long.
Props to you for getting it, because that's something that happens a lot in street. Is you get your super gnarly idea in mind, and you're like, you get there in the morning, you're like, yeah, I'm going to do switch 6 on. And then what happens most of the time from what I did is there's a struggle, and at the end you're like, yeah, I'll settle for the switch 2.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that definitely happens. And we had that happen a couple times for real ski. Like there was maybe a couple tricks where I thought of something else and we had to settle for something a little more chill. But for the most part, we were lucky enough to kind of dial in most of the tricks that I'd planned for that spot, which I think was also because of real ski, because I just told myself, like, it's either doing this trick or nothing, because the more chill trick, like, it won't be worth it. It won't make it in the video part.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, a lot of those where it didn't quite work out, or shots that didn't make the cut that I'm still super hyped on, so I'll still use, but they're just like weren't quite gnarly enough.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I liked a lot from your video was that it was kind of half and half, I guess. Of half of it were spots that are, I don't know, they are standard spots. You go and you see it's a spot, and the other half is spots that I was like, okay, he thought of hitting that. Like, there's a sign, I guess, a city sign or something, where you do a double underflip out of it, and when you look at it, you're like, dude, it's so small. It's so. I think I'd drive by that and wouldn't even think of it.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's just kind of part of what I enjoy with skiing, is like finding creative and kind of unique features. But that was definitely a goal of ours, was to have some like traditional big gnarly rails or that type of thing, but then also have like some more unique, maybe not as gnarly, but like still really cool features. Like that little thing I did the dub backflip off was like this perfect triangle. It was like this super smooth cement wally, and it had a perfect little landing.
Yeah.
So we actually like barely had to build anything. Like we built like the tranny we had to build onto the triangle was like 2 shovelfuls, and then the landing was there. So it was like the easiest setup ever. And I think that's really cool in urban too, if you can find a spot where you like barely have to build anything, because it's already like perfect for your setup.
Yeah, I agree.
So I was definitely looking for those types of spot too, if possible, which was tough because there wasn't a ton of snow. So we still had to shovel, even for like those more mellow spots. We still had to shovel quite a bit, but yeah, no, I always try and kind of incorporate some stuff like that if I can.
Yeah, man, you go so high on that. It's crazy.
Yeah, that one was sketch. Like the first, because I did just a backflip, and then I did a backflip 180, and it was chill, but we were like, that's kind of mellow. Like that probably won't be in the video. And then the first dub I tried was like so sketch, like hucked it way too hard and like overshot the whole landing, and like just like backslapped so bad. But that one wasn't too bad. That was like, I got that maybe in like 10 tries or something. So
it's fun when you have those days versus the Switch 6 on.
For sure. Like when a trick works out nice and you can get it in like pretty quick, it's like the best thing ever. Like the 270 on fence bounce flip out was like 5 tries. Like some of those, they just work out so well. Yeah. Sometimes you just get lucky.
Yeah. Or sometimes it's just about committing to it. Like the 270 on flip bounce, I understand it, because with your Switch 6 on, there's the fact of landing square on your Switch 6 on, but then you have to slide, 40 feet. So you might not always get it, versus with your skill level, when it's about bouncing and doing a flip, you're like, okay, what to do it.
Yeah, that was like a couple warm-up tries, one where I like kind of committed and like landed on my side, and then like I did 2, and I did one that was pretty good, and then I got the last one that was really good. So things like that, it's just about commitment and like committing to it, and then once you actually commit, you can get it pretty quick.
Another one that I think is really dope is it seems like a base of a resort or something like that. You kind of you're on a wooden deck, you do kind of a 360 to a hand drag cork 5. And watching that also, I was like, yeah, if I went to there, the place where you do your hand drag is kind of on a handrail.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if I went there, I would have seen it as a rail to drop. But to think of it as a like kind of box pad, that's so sick.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's actually, that one is right in Park City. It's actually at the top of like a bobsled track. It's at the Olympic Park.
Okay.
It's at the top of like a bobsled track, and I've always gone to that area. Like it's right it's right in Park City. So I've always kind of looked around there, and I'm always like, it looks like there's a spot here, but I could never think of one. And then I just went up there one day in the fall, and I was like, oh, this is dope. Because that pad is like a little elevated. It's like maybe a meter high. So we just built like a little jump up to it. And then it's like this super smooth. It's kind of a mix between concrete and wood. It's like super smooth. And then there's like this handrail, and then there's this nice pole. So I was like, yeah, if I could spin this and then hand drag the rail and like wall ride the side of the kind of the pillar. Yeah. And then there's like a nice drop, not a huge drop, maybe like 3 or 4 meters. Yeah, I was definitely stoked on that one. That one was a really tough one to get to. It was really hard because I did it straight a couple times and it wasn't too bad, but then figuring the spin and the timing out of the 360 so that it worked out like smooth and flowy was definitely harder.
Yeah, were you worried at all about edge cutting?
No, it was super smooth. I wasn't worried about that. A couple times I like got a little sketch and missed the jump and like slammed into the railing kind of, but for the most part, that spot, the worst part about that spot is there wasn't that much snow, so we built a pretty shitty landing. And so I was landing like 4 meters pretty much to like flat. And I kept doing the 5 and like I do the trick perfect, land, switch, and just like explode. And so I did like
Yeah.
10 in a row where I like pretty much landed it, but didn't quite land it, which was really annoying.
Another one of my favorites is this classic spot that Wallish kind of destroyed back in the days with 4x9. It's a small down rail with a donkey.
Yep.
And you do a switch blender 2-on with a nose tap on a pole.
Yeah, that one was scary actually. That was a really hard one. That was the last urban clip we got for the real ski part.
Okay.
And that one was just weird because, yeah, it had that pole at the rail's super mellow. It's a small rail, but the pole at the start was kind of weird. It's actually pretty big. The pole's kind of far back, so it's kind of a gap in. And then the worst part is there's a pole at the end. And I kept thinking I was going to run right into the pole. So I think that's the thing that really tripped me out the most.
Yeah, and going blender, you're kind of going blind.
Yeah, that one the blind part was really tough. Like I did some tap-ons and it was chill, but figuring that switch blender too definitely took me. That was a lot of tries. Like by the time from when I first tried it to when I actually figured it out was like 40, 50 or like tries actually trying to switch to, but total I hit that spot probably 70, 80 times or something like that. Like, it was like an all day battle. But and I almost gave up on that actually. I got it to switch kinda, but it was a little sketchy. And I got really sketchy and like didn't quite commit and like slammed into the front of the rail, but somehow my ski, well, like my foot was down, so I like almost just like hit my knee on the front of the rail so bad, but I like missed it by like 1 centimeter. And then I was about to call it, like I took off my helmet, like chilled, sat down. I was like, oh, I'm done. Like I can't do this again. And then Hunter Hess was actually there with me, and he got me hyped to try it a couple more times. Then I got it a couple tries later, which I'm super hyped on because that's one of my personal favorite shots from that edit.
Yeah, definitely. Another crazy one that I don't think I've ever seen, or it's really a never been done kind of spot and trick, is you do a 2-on to a elbow and then double transfer. But was it the setup that was mellow, or the way you do it? It looks like it was a mellow trick in the park.
Yeah, well, that rail is like it's like the perfect rail for it. Like I'd seen that rail in video parts, and I always wondered like, where is this rail? Because it's those weird tubes, And I was like, for some reason, I'd seen that video in a snowboard part before, or that rail in a snowboard part before, and for some reason I thought it was in Japan actually, just because of how it was built. I was like, damn, that seems like it'd be in Japan. And then we were in Idaho, or no, we were in Montana filming Urban, and we were driving back through Idaho, and we drove past the city Pocatello, and I saw it from the freeway, like out of the corner of my eye.
Damn.
Like it was the luckiest thing ever because I would have never known where it was. And I just saw it from the side of the freeway. I was like, no way. So then I went back and like found it on Google Earth, and then we went back like a month later. And that rail is like, it's perfect. Like the rails are close enough. It's not super high. Like there's grass on both sides, so that like helps too. It's like the perfect rail and like slightly downhill. So all we did was build a little drop in, and then it was natty speed. But I think I definitely made it. I feel like it looked pretty chill, but I got pretty bodied on that trick like a couple times. Like where, especially the main thing was the 2 outside rails with those big tubes, and they were chill, but they were actually lower than the middle rail was like an actual handrail.
Okay.
So the first transfer where I had to go from the outside one to the middle one, I had to go up actually. So it was really hard to like get up high enough. And a couple times I like wouldn't wait long enough to ollie, and I'd get my tips under the rail, and I just would like taco around the rail and like double eject. So I definitely had some like gnarly slams, but as soon as I got one where I was able to get on the middle rail good, then getting to the next rail was easy because the next rail was lower again. So like as soon as I got the middle rail like on that try, I was like, oh, this is gonna be chill. So I just did a little transfer on the second one. I actually almost went up and tried. I was thinking about getting the Pretz 2, so it would have been like a right 2 triple transfer Pretz 2. But then we both thought about it for a while, and we looked at how like I didn't slide the last rail for a super long time, just like because of how the rail isn't super long. So even if I did the transfers really fast, I couldn't slide the last rail that long. So we thought if I did the right 2 triple transfer, slid the rail for a short time, then still tried to pretz 2, it would like look too rushed and like too complicated kind of. So we felt like it would look better and smoother just doing it to switch. Mm-hmm. So we ended up sticking with it to switch.
Yeah, I'm sure you could have done it, but then it's like it gets too much. Like you have the 2 on, the elbow transfer, second transfer. It's like it's good enough.
Exactly. And that was a big part of like we talked a lot about like certain tricks. Sometimes I'd be like, oh, should I go and do like a little more blah blah blah, but then like I think it's super nice and urban when you just leave something a little more simple. Like it's still really a hard gnarly trick, but you leave a little more simple to where you don't do it too complicated and too extra. So like the 2 to switch instead of adding like a front swap in one of the because I was also thinking I could like do a front swap or a back swap on one of the transfers.
Yeah.
But then we thought that would have been too much. So we just kept it like right 2 and then triple transfer to switch. Not keeping it too complicated because it was already kind of complicated.
Damn. Yeah, so that must have been the best. Like you're going from one spot to another and you're like, oh shit, that rail is not in Japan.
No, I was so hyped. And the funny thing is actually we got on a roll because I got that switch 6 and we drove straight to Idaho, and then that was the next shot I got, which are 2 of my favorite shots. So it was like dope. And I think that's why like that spot, I think still like the triple transfer was pretty gnarly, but having like doing it after the switch 6, like that was the next spot I hit after the switch 6. So it made it feel like really chill because it was daddy speed, like no winch, like slower speed. So I think it was still gnarly, but because of doing it after the switch 6, it just made it feel like pretty mellow.
I have one last question for you.
Sounds good.
Your banger of the part, incredible shot, creative, tech, stomped, switch cork 7 to cork 3, bouncing in POW. I saw in the faction videos that you started playing with that the year prior.
Yep.
Where does that come from? How was it doing it? Was it super hard? Was it easy? Because it's something that we've rarely seen. We've seen like pillow bounces in POW, but never really a booter where you land and bounce again.
Definitely, yeah. I started experimenting with it a couple years ago in the faction video, and it's just I love doing it. Like it's so fun to bounce off pillows and stuff in the POW. So when we heard that real ski didn't just have to be urban, but you could also include POW or park or whatever, we knew we wanted to have a couple POW shots. And then we also, Etienne and I both knew that I wanted to try and get a bounce shot. But originally we were thinking we'd build a big jump kind of onto like a pillow or knuckle, and I'd try like a dub and then bounce like just a 180 or a 360 out of it, like something like that. But then we didn't quite find the spot for that. So then we found that other spot in Baker, and first actually I did a switch cork 7 bounce switch 3, like upright, like normal switch 3, and I got that clean like second try, I think. And then I was like, oh, like this shot's pretty dope, but I'd be hyped to try and get something better. And the whole time we were filming this video, we were talking kind of as a joke. We were like, you have to switch front flip in your real ski. Like you have to try and switch front flip something, which I know was kind of a crooked switch front flip, but we were saying like, yeah, I got to try switch front flip. So then Etienne kind of just as a joke was like, dude, you got to try switch cork 7 to switch front. So I was like, oh, you're right. Like I should, like we got the clip, the pretty dope clip, but I should, like the landing was still good POW. So I was like, yeah, I got to try again. And it was super scary, but that was actually first try. I just like sent the switch 7 and like just tried the switch front flip, and somehow like I had no clue where I was in the air on the switch front flip because it was so blind. Like I wasn't looking at anything, and I just came out and landed on my feet, and I was super hyped. Actually, I went up to try and do it again, just a little cleaner. I wanted to get the landing a little cleaner. And I did the switch 7, went a little too big on the switch 7, just caught like a tiny bit of the knuckle and didn't get enough bounce, and did the switch front flip and double like tail caught and like whiplashed so bad and like ate shit so hard. And then I was like, all right, like we're good. We're calling it on that one. Like I'm hyped. But yeah, no, I was really stoked to get that, especially because I hadn't really seen a trick like that with a bounce and like a switch front out. So I was stoked, and we knew right when we got the clip, like later that evening, we're like, yeah, this is going to be the ender for sure. Like, and we still had to film like a bunch of other POW. I think we got some more urban shots and POW shots after that, but we already knew that was going to be the ender like quite a while before.
Yeah, that was the last try you tried. That was like a sign of saying like, hey, your shot was good enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, pretty much like when I got bodied the next try, I was like, all right, like that means the other one was good. Like I can't Like it hurt so bad. I remember like my goggles flew off. Like I remember my neck was actually sore. The front of my neck was sore for like 3 days after because of the whiplash I got. But yeah, no, it definitely, it was, I think I was hyped that I went up and tried again, but then afterwards we realized, we were like, yeah, I don't really know why you did it again. Like the first one was good enough, but yeah, no, that one worked out, which I was super hyped on.
Yeah, those Baker shots look amazing. Baker looks so dope. I wish I could go someday. It looks like paradise.
It's so sick. Yeah, that was my first time going and I loved it. It was stumping every day. It was amazing.
Thanks for coming on the podcast, Alex. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to let me get on here. I'm stoked.
Wishing you best of luck for next season. And I heard you're going on a surf trip, so enjoy that. Take some time to relax, and hype to see what the video you're releasing this fall.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm stoked to show you and everyone else as well.
Cheers.
Awesome.
So this is it for episode 20. Big thank you to Alex for joining in. It was really, really good chatting with him. It was a great way to finish off the first season of the podcast, and I'm really stoked on the result. Big thank you to this episode's sponsors once again: J Skis, Planks Clothing, Access Board Shop, and Treefort Lifestyles. See you all next fall for season 2. Peace.